to living corpse. I am not in subordination or an apostasy, but woman, your submission should be triggered by his kingship. Everything that raises its hands to ruin the precious face that God gave you, I don't call it a man, is something that should evoke the lioness in you and fight for detachment. Woman, you are strong and you are powerful, and I believe that you are imbogoto for the cramps that tries to break your limb monthly as the Red Sea flows. For the construction and labor pains, I don't want to talk about the responsibility you carry after the so-called head of families cannot be accountable. Let us not forget the disorders of your womb, endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome that have turned your pillow into the wall of tears. You are beautiful and wonderful, precious and gorgeous in every skin color and in every size of your body, and long live to our fellow woman, Sarah Batman. You are strong and you are powerful. Evoke the ruling power in you like Queen Elizabeth. Do not fight the battle of abuse like Eleanor Roosevelt. Let the feminine mystique of Betty Friedan remind you of your feminine power. Fight for your own freedom like Miriam Makeba without forgetting the bravery of Winnie Mandela. Still we rise by Maya Angelou. You are powerful and follow the works of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Dr. Precious Mutipe, Prof. Mamuketi Pakema. Let us not forget Wernang Mateba. Women, we are feminine. We won't sit down and whine. The time to shine is ours. Thank you.
Thank you. I had occasion at the weekend to think of the Tower of Babel. I'm sure most of you know the story from the Bible, where at one time everybody spoke the same language. They're all the one people, all the one culture. They came together. And they started building this big tower up to heaven, and God came along and said, enough of this, smashed the tower and scattered the people all over the lands. And so we had the beginning of languages, the beginning of different cultures. And I had occasion to think of it in terms of communication. I was having communications. Even this morning it came to me when I was having communications with someone that words are not enough. Words somehow. But we're going to try. That's what we're going to try now. We're going to try to use words to have a conversation, to communicate our lives to each other. I have asked these women if they would just briefly, there's a couple of questions I'm going to ask, and then we're going to see where the conversation goes. I've asked them to introduce themselves in less than 20 words on the basis that we could, have several paragraphs describing who we are and just how we want to identify. So on the basis of less than 20 words. And let me just begin. And this occurred to me in the context of what we had this morning. And I'd forgotten about this part of me, or had I? I'm Sheila Quinn, and I once was a member of the Women's Coalition in Northern Ireland and part of the negotiations which led to the Good Friday Agreement and the beginning of peace in Northern Ireland in 1998. Who else would like to begin? Just pick up your mic.
Kansi, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mpini Letlage, a simple, sophisticated blind woman from Mogale City. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nolutando Geja. I'm from Elodium Itireleng. I'm a community facilitator and mother of 2. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Amandla! My name is Togozile Majanko. I was born in Zambia and grew up in Zimbabwe and was educated in South Africa. And I'm also a poet. I do budget analysis, and I'm raising a rebel girl, and so I'm also a mother. friend, daughter, cousin, niece.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gertrude Shope. I'm a community activist. I'm a community facilitator. I'm from Mamelodi at Pomdo. I'm a mother. Yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Deborah. I was born left-handed and gay, and the world tried to change that. I was also born into the ranks of the pale oppressors. But one thing that I am proud of is that I was born a woman. I love women.
Good day, everyone. Good day, everyone. My name is Katleho Monica Mutaung. I'm originally from the Vaal Triangle, and I'm a final year student, excuse me. Yes, and I'm doing law. Thank you. Oh, and probably the youngest amongst these beautiful ladies.
Amandla. Amandla. Long live the spirit of Mamwini, long live. I have a reason to choose Mamwini. She was a Tintswalo, and we are other Tintswalos. My name is Uhuru Nomagampele, and I know I have a very deep voice. Someone outside will think a man is sitting with the ladies. I'm an African before I'm South African. I walk the talk. We talk, yet we walk the other direction. That's who I am. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm an activist, I'm an African feminist, and I became an activist of sexual gender-based violence and femicide because it was not fashionable to me. I survived and never got justice. That's why I became an activist of sexual gender-based violence and femicide. Thank you.
Thanks, women. So, I don't know. So now I'm just going to pick on someone and ask the same question, but I'm going to go randomly. So Toko, we'll begin with you. What did you have to postpone, delegate, or leave undone to get here today?
So a few things. I needed to put all my family responsibilities and delegate them to my partner, who luckily does take up quite a lot of responsibility in the home. And that also means leaving my daughter to make sure that she gets ready in the morning and gets sorted and ready to school. I also needed to put aside my day job to be able to come. So there were a number of meetings taking place today that I wanted to make sure that some of the work was that I'm responsible for was given to those who were attending so that they were able to participate. So that's kind of the kind of things that you need to do. And I also had to take take on the responsibility of getting myself here safely. So navigating public transport, being told how to navigate, because I'm not from Johannesburg, I'm not from Pretoria. So, just the instructions that were given to me to be able to get to the venue safely was also something that I had to think about, not necessarily delegate, but I had to take on board and make sure that I'm safe.
Thank you. Deborah, can I ask you the same question? What did you have to leave behind?
Is this one working? Yes. Thank you. Okay, I'm responsible for a newsletter that gets published tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. So I had to get up really early this morning to write it, to polish it, and to file it. But I was a single mother of 2 daughters, so we are used to juggling. Women, we are.
Behind or give to somebody else? Where? Oh, Brazil. Tell us about Brazil. Okay, while you're there now, please tell us. I remember you telling me why you're going to Brazil. So tell us all why you're going to Brazil.
I'm going to Brazil because I'm a
Facilitator.
A facilitator and activist. I'm working with I'm working with informal settlements and making sure that they are good. The government is taking care of their services. They get service delivery. So while I was doing the working with the communities that are not recognized or who are someone you have to go to Brazil to tell other women what you are doing, to share what you are doing to those communities, because in informal settlement they don't get service delivery, they don't get water, they don't get toilets, and they don't collect waste. They are living in a filthy place. So we, as women, we make sure that our kids has to live in a clean environment. That's what I'm doing in my community. I've gathered women that are in the community, the women that are looking after the kids and see that they get clean toilets, because we make sure that the community gets clean toilets. Others, they don't get chemical toilet, but we make sure that they get chemical toilet. I'm sorry.
No. And not many of us get invited to go to Brazil to share what we do. So congratulations. Well done.
Yeah.
Mpini?
Hello, madam.
Can you tell us what do you do every day? Like, what's your line of work? I know that, well, you tell us.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Here's the microphone.
Oh.
From the other side.
Thank you so much. I'm a chairperson of a Women and GBVF committee at Blind SA, and I'm also a founder of an organization for the visually impaired and the blind. So every day of my life, what I'm doing is to go out looking for the newly blind people and give them counseling. Actually, I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a counselor. So that's what I'm doing every day of my life. And I go around looking for children who their parents doesn't take, especially disabled children, who their parents doesn't take them to school. I make sure those children are going to school, as it is their right to go to school. Thank you.
Okay, just keep them.
Oh, okay.
Just keep the microphone and tell me this. I've about given up on this, but one more try. As a blind person, and obviously you work with other blind people, both male and female.
Yes.
Have you noticed that there's any difference in the experience of women who are blind, or indeed women who have a disability, compared to men with blindness or another?
Come again?
Oh. I'm wondering if you have noticed, observed that there is a difference in the experience of women who are blind to that of men who are blind.
Okay. Yes, it's a lot of difference between women and men. Most of the time, blind, especially the newly blind women, They even try to commit suicide. They ask themselves, how am I going to survive? Most of them, their boyfriends leave them because of their blindness. So it becomes a challenge to them. They even ask themselves that how are they going to raise their child while they are blind? And trust me when I say, I always tell them that I'm a mother and I was never born blind. So in that case, they must look at me, what I'm doing. How beautiful am I with my blindness? I don't care who says what, I live my life to the fullest. So, yeah.
Norma, can you tell us a little bit about what you think is the most pressing, worrying need in your life? And not necessarily as an activist, just as a regular, if there is such a thing, regular woman and living you live in the Pretoria area, correct?
In the Val.
Yeah.
As a woman, an ordinary woman, it's safety. As I'm here over the weekend, an 18-year-old not far from us was brutally murdered after she was raped, tortured, and murdered. And the past week, we had 10 bodies, was the 10 bodies of young men who you are not seeing on TV, who were like the war broke because the other one killed the other friend. We ended up having 10 bodies in our area, in different area. I'm speaking about only one area, 10 young people's bodies. So the safety of us as women and children and human beings, because believe you me, crime in South Africa, the way we get killed or the way people are killed, when you count the statistics that Begitele released last year, they are not lying. In a year in South Africa, we have over 27,000 murders. Those are when you combine all the statistics of the whole year. If femicide and killing of women and children is not genocide, then I don't know what genocide means. So my worry every day as a living person in the country, in South Africa, is the way we brush away the deaths that are happening in the country, the violence. People are dying, women are dying. One of our beneficiaries, who her sister was murdered, that's how she became our beneficiary. She has passed on because of depression. She was never okay. If we're not murdered by men, we are definitely sure dying because of living in fear, being depressed, and not having an accessible mental health system. Our mental health system has collapsed. I'm saying this as a woman who's an ordinary person who uses these services, who you walk in a hospital or a clinic. It's untidy. One, if I'm having my mental issue, I'm expecting to walk in a clean space. You get more depressed when you walk in a mental health department. I slept at the hospital where over 40 people had to share 2 toilets and 1 bathroom. I can go on, thank you.
Thank you, Norma. And yeah, I was saying to some people at lunchtime that I'm a bit careless about this dimension of safety in South Africa. I have never come across an unsafe situation, and I won't say any more. I'm careless probably and lucky. Nulu, can I ask you the same question? What is the most pressing, worrying need in your life?
I could also say safety, because it becomes a huge part of our lives each and every day. For instance, yesterday, even in our area, there were 3 kids who were killed going to school in the morning. And I think the society itself, or women in large, we don't take these things seriously, especially women who live in informal settlements. We experience a crime each and every day. We live in a fear, not knowing what tomorrow will give us. And then imagine a young girl walking alone to school. I will also blame our government. They have the role to give our kids transport to school. Imagine a young girl walking alone at the early age of 9 or 8, walk alone to school, and then at the end of the day, she doesn't come back at home. Imagine the feeling of a mother, the pain of a mother knowing that her child went to school but never come back. Yeah.
Because I visited you, and one of the things that I noticed when I was leaving was the kids coming home from school and noticing how well they looked in their school uniforms, because school uniforms in Ireland have kind of, got a bit messy, and these kids. So no, I can't begin to imagine what that is like for the parents, for the whole community. Monica. Monica has another name, but Monica is very easy to pronounce, so I've chosen Monica. Why are you here today, Monica?
Okay. I'm here today to celebrate women. I'm here to celebrate women and all that they've achieved and all that they've been through. The struggles, the challenges. I'm just here to learn as well as a young one amongst everyone here, and to also gain some strength to learn from the experiences that I'll learn from, that I'll hear, excuse me. So I'm just here to celebrate women, to celebrate the challenges, and yes, I think that's it.
Thanks, Monica. Deborah. So what do you think of this idea of International Women's Day? I mean, not today necessarily, but the idea of it, the concept of it. I mean, do you have any particular thoughts, reactions?
I think it's quite telling. Is my mic on? Okay. I think it's quite telling that we need to have a Women's Day, exactly in the same way that we need to have a department of women and youth and disabled people. It shows you that we are very far from equality, that women, or that the perception is that women need a hand up. So I don't know, it's a bit difficult for me. I would rather hear ordinary people, ordinary women talk about their challenges and what they face, rather than grandstanding, where ministers, for example, talk about what they've put in place. And I hope it's true. I'm sure a lot of it is true, and people are trying, but we have a long way to go. Really.
Okay, keep the microphone, Deborah, just because that reminds me of something I thought of this morning. That I think there are various predictions as to how many years it'll take for women's equality. One says 260 something, and somebody else adds another 193 onto that. And yet we today, everyone in this room today, recognized how strong women are. One of the ministers was speaking about all of the queens of Africa. We've got it. We're central to development. The economy could not move without us. It's not just domestic work. It's domestic work that enables the market to operate. So the question is, why do you think it's taken so long? If we've been doing this for so long and we're so great, why has it taken so long?
Because of the patriarchy crippling women, and it hasn't always been this way. In ancient times, women were goddesses and queens and soldiers. I read a book by Philippa Gregory normal women, 900 years in history. She says that in the Middle Ages, for example, women were a lot more equal than they are today. They held jobs that, but what went wrong apparently, and I can totally agree with that, is the church, the Bible. I'm sorry to say, according to her, a man, William Tyndale, one of the translators of the Bible, translated Peter 3 verse 7 to call women the weaker vessel. That wasn't in the original. It was his interpretation. And once you're a vessel, you're a container, you're something to carry something in. It depersonalizes you. And the church, and somebody like St. Paul, they really dealt women's rights a severe blow that we still feel to this day.
I know that, I mean, I come from Catholic Ireland, which, I mean, just saying that, I don't know what it means outside of Ireland, but it means the Catholic Church was practically the government. It is no longer the case, thankfully, but I won't go into that. Toku, I'm going to ask you, though, to what extent do you think religion, and I want to make the distinction between religion and faith, if I can, because I had religion, I have faith. I don't know if there's a God. I have faith in humanity. I have faith in my wife. I have faith in my nieces and nephews, of which there are many. So I'm talking about religion rather than faith.
So I think, from just drawing on the kind of conversations around how women are perceived in whatever religious section that you aspire to, I think it cuts across all religions. And within each religion, there are more progressive forces that are open to having a better understanding of the role of women in society, the role that women play in mothering, the role that men play in mothering, the LGBTQI plus community. So I don't want to paint it with one brush, because I do recognize that there are people who are deeply religious and deeply progressive and have a very strong human rights framework. But unfortunately, that is not the norm. That is the exception. And at the moment, globally, we're fighting, whether we're talking about Afghanistan or talking about Uganda or Ghana, church environments that are vehemently against women's rights, vehemently against LGBTQI rights as well. And I think somebody this morning said, if someone is not free, then none of us are free. And so if we cannot really think through how our religious beliefs perpetuate these cycles of violence and femicide, then that's a real conversation that needs to be had about the role that the church, and I could be saying synagogue, I could be saying temple, plays in perpetuating these stereotypes of women as vessels, as weak, as not having the same kinds of rights. So, I think about, just my own, at a personal level, my own mother, she couldn't, my father had to go into exile, and my mother was stranded because she didn't have the rights to sign at the bank. And that was in the late 70s, early 80s. So the kinds of rights that have happened, you see that being taken away in Afghanistan. So the right of young girls to go to school and get an education in the name of religion is being removed. And it was, the same. So it's these histories are not kind of archaic. They're, recent. They are fights that we need to be wide awake and be prepared. And I think Minister Pandor said that there's always a new struggle. And that we need to be awake to the new struggle. And I really do think these huge, mega religious kind of institutions and fundamentalist institutions of any denomination
need to be monitored and checked in relation to the rights of women.
Nulu, can I ask you the same question? And because I know that when I visited you, that you brought me into your church, and so I wonder what view you might have on the idea that religion, organized religion, is an impediment to the realization of equality for women.
I think, in my opinion, it depends the family that you are in. How do they treat women? How do they take women? For instance, when there is we have a circumcision, which is ukwaluka in Xhosa. In that religion, it's only men who can who can be in charge in that. And then there's also another initiative, umembeso. It's a culture whereby a woman can be in control, whereby a man take a woman as a wife. So I think it depends with the family how they treat the culture thing, because I grew up in a cultural family, and I believe the way I grew up, for me, it was not, there was no difference between a man and a woman in terms of taking charge, because I feel like even now, I still feel like it depends with the situation at that time. And also, I think if we can take out the mentality of looking, there is a man and a woman, and also there is a role that a man supposed to play and a woman supposed to play. I think we should also come up with positive thinking, giving our young girls and young boys how to think about these cultural things, how to think about the role that a man and a woman should supposed to play in a society. Yeah.
And does your, just to keep the mic, does your the project of Asi Vikalena that you work with, and I know that you do other work as well, is that part of your work, to work with young people to, you know, to teach them about the cultural differences? And
definitely, the work that I'm working as Asi Vikalena is to make sure that when women and men are equal, they are getting equal services, and we are also amplifying the voice of those who doesn't have a voice. We are also giving the information to people who doesn't get information easily, particularly to informal settlement. As a community facilitator, I have observed that young girls we normally don't treat them equally with boys. And then with the work that I'm working as a community facilitator, I also came with an idea of giving these kids, boys and girls, the same skills, so that at the end of the day, they depend to themselves. It will be a nice image when we see a girl and a boy doing the same thing and the same career without discriminating them. Yeah.
yeah, I like that vision very much. Petunia, who looks after your children when you're doing your job?
When I'm on the field.
Yeah. Sorry, how old are your children?
My first one is it okay? My first one is 17 and
17.
Yeah, the second one is 11 years old.
Okay.
They are taking care of themselves.
Okay.
When I'm here, they are together right now.
Okay.
At home. I'm doing everything for them. I'm the one who's taking care of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No. I mean, I just wondered, like, I'm thinking of care, you know, and because I was even this morning when I was Google. I mean, care, and this, our referendum in Ireland is going to talk about care as well. Care is, if you look at the statistics and look at the literature, care is the perennial biggest obstacle to women's economic independence. And some countries treat it structurally, but most don't. And so I'm just wondering about, like, do you get into situations where the care of your children is stopping you from doing whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's work or some other leisure activity?
When I have to make sure that someone is taking care of them, my sister is there. She's there right now. She's she's always there to take care of them. But what I've seen to us women as single parents, it's a struggle when you raise children alone. I was thinking in the morning that when they were talking here, that they have to invest in women. You know, because I'm working with informal settlement, I'm always in the informal settlement. I see the struggle. There are many single parents in informal settlement. You know, the struggle is so, it's so saddening to see women struggling maybe to get 200 rand just to buy food for their kids. Imagine when they are staying in informal settlement. I've heard Norma said, she said something, I forgot now, but I would remember. You know, when you are a woman and you are doing everything for yourself, it's so hard, because when you die living in an informal settlement, your kids doesn't have a home. When you die, they are homeless. If there's something that will happen, I think if they can invest in women and make sure the government make sure that women are the first priority to get houses, like RDP houses, single parents. I've heard that they give women who are married, I don't know, I'm not sure, but I've heard that they give a house to a woman who are married. But if they can just focus on us as single parents and make us priority, making sure that the kids, when you die, they get a house, a home for them. They get a house for them. First, they have to think about our children, because we are staying there in an informal settlement. There's no job, there's no service, there's nothing. I think they have to prioritize women and check their background and how our kids live. Because when you are staying in an informal settlement, there's many things that are happening. She said kids died yesterday. They are staying in informal settlement. No one is taking care. There's no security. You are just living there. You are just living like a homeless person. If they can prioritize us women and take care of us and make sure that our kids are fine and taken care of.
And you see, Petunia, what you're saying, the world has said this for decades. You know, the international organizations, the donors, the funders, the governments, the intergovernmental organizations, they have said this for decades, that we must prioritize women, that women are central to development, and yet still they don't do it. They don't do it. And I'm reminded that someone reminded us this morning that one of the themes for International Women's Day this year is invest in women, although there was another theme floating around. I mean, they're not just themes, they're actually real needs. So it was mentioned this morning, and I'm going to ask you, Monica, this question. It was mentioned this morning that human rights are like we don't have to share them. It's not an apple pie. It's not that, you know, you can only get, if some person gets a piece of the pie, that means someone else will not. In other words, that everyone gets it. And it occurred to me, except when it comes to the budget is a pie. And I'm wondering what you have you any thoughts on that, on how do you make rights real if they are supposed to be budget neutral? Is that a difficult question? You go right ahead, Norma, and then I'll come back to Toku in that one, because I know she...
I think it's invest also with time, not only money. As we can see, we invested, and we appreciate you making us priority. Time, investing time, your time on women as ministers, as government, says a lot. One minister will travel with 5-10 people. That's why the house was full. Don't worry that the house is empty. You count the ministers, you count the team that each minister has. It fills up. Ordinary women that have to celebrate, that has to be heard, are not heard. So if you don't even invest your time, will it be possible to invest your money to these women? We go back to the book where it says the animal farm. All animals are equal. All animals are not equal. The grassroots women, even if we try to raise our voices are suppressed because we categorize as nobodies. The people who are in certain position want to tell our story. They will say women in the grassroots when they're in the level, in certain level. I've never heard anyone who mentioned a grassroots woman who says a woman was killed, Abahlali baseMjondolo, fighting for the rights of women. We lost that woman. She was murdered, and many other women who were murdered in Marikana. No one mentioned them because they're just women. They're just grassroots. What do they know? What is their worth? If we really want to change, we need to invest our time. Grassroots women invest their time because we were here from morning. We have listened to everyone. But because we are nobodies, no one wants to listen at us. So we are talking amongst ourselves. And I'm taking this to say, those who are in the minister's office, take the message that women in the grassroots are aware, and we thank you for actually exposing yourself today on International Women's Day to say grassroots women are non-existent. We are not existing. We are on our own. That's why when you're getting murdered or you're getting beaten, you call the cops, no one comes. You go to the presidential summit, they make all these promises that women will be safe, rapists won't get bail. You go to our real life, a rapist get free bail. A rapist and a murderer walks freely because SAPS didn't do proper procedure. They didn't follow proper procedures. 9 men will leave after they have murdered and raped a woman. And that person will be given another case. He will fumble that case, will be given. There's no accountability. So what I'm saying is that budget and time, it doesn't exist when it comes to us, the grassroots.
Thank you, Norma. Toku, pick it up there.
I think Norma has summarized our fiscal framework, our budget framework beautifully. It's not designed for dealing with what's
is needed on the ground. So the bulk of resources, if you look at the government's budget, which is what I do, that's what I do for a living. And so when the minister gives his speech and we all look and see and we get told that the cake is only so big, it's absolute nonsense. They could make the cake much bigger. That pie could be larger and it could be benefiting the majority of primarily women. At the moment, we're getting crumbs and being told to be thankful. And so we see a tax regime that doesn't benefit poor women. We see subsidies to big companies that don't benefit women. And then small crumbs that come in the form of a 350 grant, social relief of distress grant, and no certainty about what's happening with a universal basic income grant, which would fundamentally transform the South African landscape if it was implemented, and if it was implemented at above 790 Rand, at least to the lower poverty line, which isn't great, but at least bring it up to that amount would be better. The child support grant as well should be within the upper poverty line as well, and then the old age support the grant as well. So essentially, when I look at the budget, it's not gender neutral. It's actually gender violent. And it's absolutely critical that we start getting comfortable with talking about budgets, be it at a local government level, provincial level, or national level, because those resources are flowing in the wrong direction. So we have to deal with the effects of a mining industry that destroys our water, that pollutes our air, and who is left looking after the people at the end of the day? It's women. It's women in those areas. It's the women in the informal settlements, because we don't have a housing program, a fully funded housing program that thinks about land as a public good for the public, not as some private commodity to make money out of. So I think, in terms of this conversation and who's missing and talking to ourselves, it is very, very telling, because we need leadership in terms of, the minister did make mention of the gender responsive budgeting, planning and monitoring and evaluation framework that keeps getting pushed out. We haven't seen the framework. There's a whole lot of questions, and it's absolutely critical that we start getting a gender analysis of our budget. We don't have it. If I control find on our budget documents and I put in women, the only times women comes up is the Department of Women. If I put in gender, doesn't even hit a find. So we're not even talking about it in these documents. And so we're not even seen, like you're saying. We're not seen in these documents. And yet they have this overwhelming impact on our time, on our energy, on our health. So yeah, the budget is definitely not neutral, not gender neutral.
One of the things that I do in this field of gender equality, one of the things that I'm known for is gender responsive budgeting. But lately I have become quite blasphemous. I say things that could get me kicked out of the gender responsive budgeting community, and I'm okay with that. Is that there are lots of governments all around the world saying that they're doing it or that they have done it, but they're not doing it. They are far from doing it, and it's up to people like us who have sort of condoned what they're doing and said that's gender responsive budgeting. And even get rid of the idea of gender responsive budgeting. Just talk about investing in women and making fiscal space for them. But anyway, I don't want to rant as I could. How does the budget affect your work? Here you go. Take mine. Oh, you have one there.
I think this one here. Hello. Can you hear me?
Here, take this.
Okay. Oh my goodness, what a question. Honestly speaking, when coming to the issue of a budget, for me, it is so difficult. I don't want to lie to you. Firstly, yes, I am married. I have kids. My 2 elder daughters are married, and at the moment I have only 3 kids. And
At home.
yeah, at home. 3 kids are it's the 21-year-old, the 17-year, and the 14-year-old. And myself, my husband is working at Mpumalanga. However, we are not in good terms. So I am earning disability grant because we are separated, and I'm staying. Actually, I have rented a place for me and my kids. We are paying 3,000 rands per month. But because I am that woman, a hustler, I have a smaller nyana business that I'm doing. That is the reason I'm saying, yes, it is difficult, but not that bad, because my children get everything that they want from me. Besides the help of their father. So at some point, as a woman, I think we really need to take responsibility. We really need to work hard for our own children. Because sometimes when we depend on other people or we depend on the government, we are going to be stuck. Because trust me when I say, they always promise us this and that, and we are not getting anything. So that's the reason I'm saying, let us work very hard for our own kids. Even if you don't have money, or you are not working, let us go out there and do something that will make money out of it. Not something that is not, how can I put it? Not something illegal. Don't do something illegal, actually. Just do something that will work for you and your children. Remember that we said we are Dimbokoto. Again, if we are Dimbokoto, let us work hard. Yeah? Let us work hard for our own children. To show the community and other women out there what is good and what is best for us and our children. I always tell people that, yes, I know that I'm blind, but my blindness doesn't, what is that word? It doesn't,
disable you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Mommy. I think time is out of us.
How do you know I'm Mammy? I mean, you can't see me, so.
You know, there are 5 senses that we use as blind people. So I use one of those senses.
Okay.
That is the reason I know.
Thank you. Well, I want to ask, thank you very much. Usually they call me Go-Go, although I have to say the last couple of times when I'm walking in the streets, they haven't called me Go-Go. So what's happened? Have I got younger looking or something? Petunia thinks, oh, Petunia's smiling now. I was going to ask you, you're looking very sad. Deborah, I want to ask you, though, a money matter. So I know you've got your deadline tomorrow, and I think when we spoke last week, you had a deadline. But if I can say this, writing a weekly web page newsletter column won't bring in a lot of cash. Am I right?
It's not too bad, actually. I've been paid a lot worse.
Okay.
Journalism is a sinking ship, but this is at least, it appears every day. There's a newsletter every day, and then a bumper edition on a Friday.
Okay.
So it's not that bad, but
Okay.
I've struggled my whole life without financial security. Up until my 60s, it's better.
Okay,
Also
so
because of my partner.
what else do you do? Tell us. I mean, I know what else you do. And I mean, I don't know everything you have done to earn money, but tell us.
Well, I feel ashamed sitting among my sisters, and they're doing so much and such worthwhile things. My life this far, I've struggled to bring up 2 girls. And what I wanted to say is that women are not safe in any sector of society. My 2 daughters, in quite a prestigious Cape Town school, they've both at separate occasions been given Rohypnol. My second daughter, I received a dreaded phone call in the middle of the night. She was found next to the road without her shoes, unconscious, gang raped, Rohypnol. So it's just a struggle. I worry about my daughters still every day. And that youngest daughter, there were 3 or 4 totally lost years. The devastation of that, you know, it's just something that we have to live with. It's a danger every day. And I'm sorry if I'm a rabid feminist, and there are few men in the room, not many left. But I feel men carry a weapon between their legs, and we have to manage that every day.
Yeah, and while I'm not necessarily keen on going in that direction, I know I have 42 nieces and nephews, by the way, so I know from some of the younger ones that the way in which normal sex is portrayed is that it's very pornographic. So, but we won't go there. You're going to take over from me now. Drink a pen. I want to ask Monica, if I may, because Monica, you are still a student, I understand. So are there any particular issues that you face as a female student in university?
Because I started at the Northwest University where I started with my BA, and unfortunately my mother passed away the same year. So I had to be alone at the age of 20. I was turning 21, 3 days before my birthday, she passed away. So I really had to be strong for myself. And starting first year and I just lost a parent was really difficult for me. And it took me a lot to really get up. So I had to even travel because my mom did not want me to stay at rest. It's as if she knew. And now the problem was, now she's gone, how am I gonna sustain myself? Because she was working and I'm not. And unfortunately enough for me, my mom was a domestic worker and I have a mother. So the lady she was working for still mothers me till today. And she has mothered me throughout. She's been there for me, even if sometimes it's not physically because she's also busy. But it has really been hard because I also fell into depression. I got kicked off campus because I was not performing. And it was really because of I can't do it, but I thought I could. I thought I'd manage. No, it's just second year, let me just do it. Until I just had to stay at home. And then I started again with UNISA. And I just told myself I'm gonna start again. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna finish. And I've come far. It was difficult. And also with my eyesight, because I was also born with keratoconus, and I had a transplant, corneal transplant in my right eye in 2009. And now it's that problem as well. I need to get spectacles, I need to see, I need to try and make my environment more friendly for me to be able to see because it's blurry all the time. So with all of those challenges, I really try, and I could have just been tempted to do other things and just leave school and just choose a different direction. But I think as a woman, a young woman, I've just wanted to amount to something. I wanted to amount to something, even through the difficulties and the challenges of not being employed, even like part-time, and not having a parent, and I'm alone at home at that young age, where now it makes me also vulnerable to people who are around me and the other gender, males, because people tend to take advantage, and they've tried before, and I got to be a victim of GBV as well in that sense. So it's really been hard, but through that, through everything, I still put myself together and move forward. And then I joined Tosunga, and my country, it helps me a lot. It helps me, it's not even about the money, but the mere fact that I'm able to do something, I'm able to go out and participate in giving back to the community, helps me a lot as a young woman.
Thank you, Monica, and thank you, everyone. I'm afraid we have to bring this to an end, which I regret. I could stay here, and those who aren't in the room from this morning missed something special, I think. Thank you all for coming here. Hugs and kisses to you all. I'm going to be a little bit more self-indulgent for just another few moments. I belong to a choir at home. I don't know where the technician is. There he is. And it's not going to be the same level of choir that we had earlier, but we wanted to send you a greeting for International Women's Day. So we'll simply play the tape. You might have to turn around, woman.
Today, and happy International Women's Day from the Diva Orchards Choir in Dublin, Ireland. We are delighted to be part of your celebration. We share your celebration and we share your continued work for equality, freedom from violence, for empowerment and independence. And we hope this song, which has inspired many women throughout the world, will uplift and encourage you. Let the river run.
the glass ceiling, looking at the time called working parents. Decades ago, when the way that we characterized getting equality was breaking the glass ceiling in the corporate world. Thank you for your patience, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Good afternoon again. Let me express my gratitude to the panelists and to yourself, Madam Sheila, for facilitating this session. Let me thank you, those that remained behind. It begins with us to make the right decisions. We chose to be here. We gave them a hearing. We've noted the issues. In most instances, we come up with a report, which report gets compiled with recommendations. So all is not lost, and those issues will then be translated in one way or another into practice to say whether they require a policy approach or they just require programmatic intervention. Those are the things that will then emerge from the report that will be compiled. But in Sizulu, we say siyanibonga, realelebucha, colleagues, and we hope to meet again. The next session, we decided not to go ahead with the next session because you can see as it is, it won't be worth it at this point in time. But siyabonga, siyabulela, and happy International Women's Day.